Hi friends, welcome to episode 88 of the Quirky Monday Craftcast. My name is Kalisha and you can find me anywhere online as Nadira Tani. Today is Sunday, July 7th, and this is not even by any means the regular day that I film. And that's because I missed recording last week. And so I wanted to come to you guys today and get a podcast out, so I didn't go 2 weeks without recording. So this week I'm planning to give you guys a double dosing of Kalisha, because who wants that, right? Anywho, yes, I just really wanted to record. That's it, really. I'm coming to you from my home in Central Florida, as is usual. I don't have any admin or anything to put you guys up on this episode. If you did want to, we do have a Ravelry group. It's called the Quirky Monday Craftcast group on Ravelry. There's always a link down below, and we have a thread in there called the Positive Moments, Quirky Monday Positive Moments, I think is what I called it. And that's basically where you can share positive things that have happened to you over the past week or month or however long, or just something positive that you would like to share with the community. You can also leave those things in the comments down below. I have been really slacking on sharing other people's positive moments, just because the past couple weeks have been kind of crazy for me and my family. But I am going to get back on the good foot with that. And I wanted to share with you guys kind of a bright spot that I'm experiencing in reference to this podcast. And that is actually a viewer. And their name is Pat. And Pat left a comment on one of my videos, I think it's been a couple weeks now. And she was like, I'm watching your videos and I'm just commenting on all of them. And she was not joking. So I've been really enjoying the comments that she's leaving. She often tells stories of things that have happened to her in reference to something that I'm talking about in the video. And it just really feels like an interaction, more of an interaction, in the comment section. And I really appreciate that. So hi, Pat. You are one of my bright spots. Most recently, she went back and watched my very first videos on YouTube, which are little clips of my dogs and random stuff. And it just made me laugh because I totally forgot about those. So I went back in the history of Kalisha. And it was pretty cool to watch those videos again. So thanks for being a bright spot. I think my neighbors are having a pool party, so there's that. I'm also joined by one of our mango trees. This tree happened because my husband ate a mango and stuck the seed in some dirt, and it sprouted. And we have, this one is the biggest one, and then there's another little one, to the side over here. And then we have a third one that may be on its way out. We're not sure. But yes. Oh, can you see? Oh no, my little fig tree is right there, just off camera. And it had a fig on it, and Lamar picked it and cut it in half. And we each ate half of the fig. And it was my first fig. And I didn't know what to expect, and it was pretty good. So it did not taste like Fig Newtons, which is where my mind was. Not the same. But yeah, so let's get into talking about my craftiness before the mosquitoes come for my life. Finished objects. So last episode I was talking about how I finished my socks for Jason, and I really wanted to send them up to his partner. And I got in touch with him, and his foot is bigger than mine. So I ended up ripping out the toe, ripping out the toe, knitting. I think I had to knit another maybe 1.5 inches, and then adding in another toe. So that's my finished object, and that's the only finished thing I have. So I'm calling them the Jason Socks 2.0 because originally I think they ended about here, like halfway in the orange stripe, and the toe went down into the blue stripe of this repeat. Yeah, I did the toe differently because like I normally do a rounded toe with like, it's kind of been tweaked over like the pairs of socks that I've knit. I've tweaked it to really fit my foot. So I didn't do that. I just did like a basic wedge toe, which is decrease, row, and then knit even. And you just alternate those two until you get down to your desired amount of stitches. And I think I stopped at 12 stitches. But yeah, here they are. They are finished. All of the ends, am I lying? I'm totally lying. None of the ends are woven in. So I need to do that, and then I will get them packaged up to send up to Matt. Oh, they smell good. They've been sitting on something like fragranced, so that's cool. And that's the only finished object, guys. That's all. I have 2, I think, works in progress to show you. The first one you guys haven't seen in a while is my retreat shawl. This is a pattern by Dawn Henderson, and it is almost done. Like, I have this much yarn left, and this is Barocco Remix Light. And I don't know what the colorway is, purple, I don't know, but I really like how tweedy it is, like with the pink tweedy bits. And I couldn't find the tag from the original one, or I couldn't find the tag the last time I talked about this, but I have it now. And so Remix Light, or just the Remix brand, is a 100% recycled fibers, and it's 30% nylon, 27% cotton, 24% acrylic, 10% silk, and 9% linen. So it's like a fiber family reunion in there. But here is, am I in the, who am I? I'm in the middle of a row. I don't think I've ever done that on this podcast, but first time for everything. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So this is what it looks like, all crumpled up and lovely. It's an asymmetrical triangular shawl. That's just knocked my glasses off. How about that? It starts with a reverse stockinette body, and then you go into cables. There you go. And I think I've done 1, 2, 3. I've finished 3 cable repeats, or 3 repeats of the cable chart. And like I said, this is all I have left. So I'm thinking maybe, I doubt this is going to get me through another whole repeat. So I think I'm just going to do half a repeat and then bind off. I think that's what I'm going to do. And don't fall off the needles. Half a repeat is 1 total V of the cable stitch. So I think it's going to work out. I really like it, and I think if anything I should be able to stretch it just a bit if I really want to. Yeah, it's very stretchy. My only concern is I didn't want to, like, I know it's supposed to be asymmetrical and everything, but I didn't want to end the cable section too suddenly, because then I feel like the point of the triangle would be like so off-centered that it would look like a mistake. But I think if I do like one more, like 1/2 of a cable repeat, I should be in that safe window where I don't look like I ran out of yarn. And of course, I do have other remix light yarn in my stash, but of course none of them like go. Like, they would look like, oh, you made a mistake. You just trying to play it off like you didn't, but we all know you made a mistake. So, yeah. And you guys haven't seen this bag in quite some time, but this is a bag that my friend Hannah, I don't know why I said Hannah like that, Hannah, but my friend Hannah of the Cozy Cottage Crochet made me this bag, and it's a all the bugs are screaming now. It's a drawstring bag, it's spacey, it's purple, and my birthday's in February, so my birthstone is amethyst, so purple. And then I have some pins on. That one says happiness is crochet. Even though there's a knit project in here, that's fine. You just do what you want over here. And then this one is a Pisces constellation, and that's also a birthday gift that I got. Yes. And my other work in progress is the pattern sample for the Gemini shawl. So Gemini shawl is a shawl pattern that I have written. It's been tested, I've done the editing. I just have to get the pattern sample done and photographed so that I can put the pictures in the pattern, and then it'll be ready to go. My original plan was to make the pattern sample along with my testers. I don't remember why that plan went off the rails, but it did, and here we are. But yeah, so I have the Gemini shawl pattern. It is a trapezoidal shape. Trapezoidal. That's one of those words that, like, I look at it written and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can say that. And then it comes out of my mouth and I'm just like, I don't think that was right, but we're gonna go with it. But it's made in halves. So you make the first half, and that one is like heavily inspired by one of the twins, Castor and Pollux. You make that first half, and then you make the second half, which is heavily inspired by the other twin. You know, so you have Castor, Pollux, and then you join them in the middle. So, and typically you would do the whole half and then the whole half, but I'm kind of working them concurrently. I'm not kind of working them, I am working them concurrently. So, if you guys have been watching for a while, you may recall that I pulled out 3 yarns and I said I'm going to make my Gemini shawl pattern out of these 3. And it was a purple, a blue, and like a speckledy, a light blue base with blue and purple speckles. And that was going to be my Gemini shawl. And then, I want to say last week, Lamar and I stumbled upon Gemini Springs here in Florida. And I was like, obviously I have to take pictures of the Gemini shawl here. That's a given. And while we were walking around the park, I was just so inspired by all of the greenery and the nature. And I was like, no, I can't do purple and blue for my Gemini shawl. It has to be like natural colors. And that's where these came in. So here's one half. And here is the other half. So if you're new and you haven't heard me tell this story before, Gemini, can I nuggetize this? The constellation Gemini is based on the twins, Castor and Pollux. One was mortal, the other one was immortal. Reason being is one was the son of Zeus, the other was just the son of the regular king. Their story is that they were great warriors, and one day the mortal son dies. And off the top of my head, I can't remember which one was mortal, Castor or Pollux, but whatever. The mortal son dies. The immortal son is so brokenhearted that his twin is gone that he goes to Zeus and he's like, dude, what can I do to get my brother back? And Zeus basically says you can give him half of your immortality, and he's like, bet, done, that's it, you know. So Zeus brings the mortal brother back to life and puts them in the sky as the constellation Gemini. So we have in this part that you can see, this is just part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is called We Are Born, and this is my color for Castor. Their names are Castor and Pollux, if I haven't said that. This is my color for Castor, this is my color for Pollux, and then it's probably easier to see on this one. How about that? This is my color for Castor, this is my color for Pollux, and then this tan that you can see in between is the color for Death. So this first part is We Are Born, this second part is Death Separates Us, and then the third part is called Reborn Above, and then there's a fourth part that is called Forever Linked. Sorry, the bugs are coming for me. So they really are. Leave me alone. I'm just trying to talk to the friends. So yes, I'm really excited about this. I've been keeping more notes about exactly how much yarn I've been using so that I can give like very specific amounts of yarn, just in case like people want to do substitutions or whatever like that. I guess I can tell you what yarns I'm actually using here. So this green is Ivy. Yes, this green is Ivy by Malabrigo, and it's Malabrigo sock. This like speckledy one is the Author, and it's by Von Herzen Craft Co. I don't know if she is dyeing yarn at this time. I know she just recently moved back to Germany, so you can follow her on Instagram, and she'll be linked down below. And then this tan, this tan is one that I dyed myself with avocado pits, and yeah, it came out more tan than I was expecting. So like, see how this goes with just the greenery, right? Y'all see where I'm going with this, right? So I'm super excited about this. Hopefully I can get this done pretty quickly and then be ready for pictures. Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, man, working on this, I've been working on this for the past, I think I've only been working on it for about a week. Get it together. But I'm starting to get like not a soft spot, but like a little tender spot on this part of my pinky because of the way that I hold the crochet hook. So it's definitely like I've definitely been getting it. So I probably need to take a break on this and give my fingers a rest. But yeah, oh well, I guess I can show you. This is Ivy, and then this is the Author. Hello, you're not supposed to be there. This is the Author. And these are my trash nails. Does anyone else get like that? Like you paint your nails and then like life happens and then your nail polish chips off and you just can't be bothered for like fixing it? That's where I am right now. Who cares? So that's all I have for, oh, that's not all I have for works in progress. I do have another works in progress. I do have another work, and that is the watermelon sock. It's getting some work, stitches, time being done. It's attention. It's getting some attention. So this is Cotton Color Tutti Frutti 2 in their watermelon colorway. It's a Regia yarn. This is my first Regia. And I got this in a swap from a viewer named Briita. Hi. Who, by the way, has finished her like watermelon socks. Like she finished them probably a good 2 months ago. But yes, Lamar and I went to the movies last night and I knit this. That was it. That's not even a whole lot of like progress. I was knitting very slowly in the movie theater. We went to go see Spider-Man Far From Home. I enjoyed it. So let's move on to maker plans. My first maker plan is my next project for my Make 9. Every time I mention my Make 9, I say I've knit or I've made X number of things from my Make 9. And I can never remember exactly how many I've made, so I'm not even going to do that. I'm working on the next thing in my Make 9, and I'm going to be doing the Brothers Not Twins socks by Diane Ugo. She is Mrs. You Makes on, I think, on here and on Instagram and on Ravelry. I think so. But anyway, no. She has a different username on Ravelry. That's neither here nor there. I am going to be knitting her sock pattern, Brothers Not Twins socks. And I think there's like cabling and stuff in there. Do you mind? You don't mind at all. I see. I'm just gonna scream. Okay. All right. So I think there's cables in this. If it's not the wind, it's the bugs. Florida. I think there's cables in this sock pattern, and it seems like from the pictures it seems to be kind of like an intricate pattern. So that's gonna be like fun just to like have to walk around with, not necessarily like walking and knitting on these things because I can't knit cables in motion, but just like to have as a project on the go, because aside from the watermelon socks, I don't have any socks going, which is kind of crazy. I have 2 naked sock needles. What? But the thing about the Brothers Not Twins socks is that each one of the socks is a different pattern, so you can make like Brothers Not Twins, right? And they're part of her collection called the Fairly Odd Socks, I think. And each pattern from that collection has essentially 2 sock patterns that are complementary to each other, where at glance they look like they match, but upon further inspection you can see their differences, which I think is really cool. And it's also kind of like 2 sock patterns for the price of 1. I definitely recommend you check out her sock patterns. She also has other patterns available. She has some garments. I remember seeing some like homewares and things, and then lots of sock patterns. So yes, and she is also a podcaster, and she has an Etsy shop. This girl is doing like all the things. She has an Etsy shop where she sells stitch markers and like polymer clay markers, so definitely check her out because she's doing a lot. So hi Diane, if you watch. So that's my first maker plan, and my second maker plan is kind of a mending project. I put mending in quotes because it's not like I'm mending like my pants didn't like get a rip in them. This is how they came. So these shorts, I got them from the thrift store, but they have like already holes, like you know how they sell pants that are already holey. I put these on the other day, and I've worn these many times and it never like bothered me, but for some reason I put these on the other day and I looked down and all I could see was like my thigh in this huge hole, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to cover that up. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna knit like a little patch and sew it in, and I'm going to knit it in this color. This is Oh Lucky You by Mitchell's Creations, and it is her St. Patrick's Day colorway. So this is one of my special yarns. This was the main color in my, what was that shawl called? It's by Jayalakshmi. And I'll put it at the bottom because I cannot remember the name of that shawl. Good grief. But I enjoyed making the shawl. I have the leftover yarn. I'm gonna knit a square, probably about that big, and then sew it inside the jeans so that I won't just see my thigh all out. That should be a really quick project. I should do that tonight, actually. And that's everything for maker plans and stuff that I'm currently like knitting and crocheting on. And now we will go into stashquisitions. So my first stashquisition is from Birch Hollow Fibers, who is an indie dyer that I talk about a lot. She's actually one of my favorite indie dyers. I really enjoy the way that she dyes, the way that like she plays with color. And she's recently started stocking these wooden stitch markers. And her husband, come, be still. Her husband does the laser cutting for them. So it's like a real family business, family endeavor. And that one just turned around. So I have a spinning wheel, a teapot, and this one is a little tree. This is also her yarn. This is the colorway Fallen Leaves. Yeah, Fallen Leaves. So I feel like I want to do a sock or something out of this, and then I'm of course going to use the tree as the progress keeper on that one, because then it's just so perfect. I can't. But yes, I really enjoyed these. And I think it was today that she posted on Instagram that her husband is coming up with new designs and she's really excited about it. So definitely follow her on Instagram. She's Birch Hollow Fibers. Check her out, y'all. Check her out. Check her out. That's my only like crafty stashquisition that I have this week. But the other two things are just like some fun like knickknacks that I found whilst thrifting. So the first thing I found was this cross pendant, and it is in the style of Ethiopian Coptic crosses. And when I saw it, like I always check the jewelry, like the jewelry counter at my local Goodwills, because sometimes there's really good things in there like this. And this cost me $2. And I was really excited when I found it because I'm currently working on a design based on the story of Cassiopeia, the constellation Cassiopeia. And one of the details in the design is a cable that is inspired by Ethiopian Coptic crosses. The cable in the pattern that I'm working on, it really just makes like a bunch of diamonds coming down like this. Does that make sense? And that's a kind of motif that you see a lot in these crosses, like, you know, the Coptic crosses. And I was really excited when I saw it because, you know, when you read about something and you kind of start looking into different art forms and imagery, and then you see something like in the wild and you recognize, you know, the styling and the significance of that thing, it's a pretty cool feeling. Like, I recognize that. So I doubt very seriously that I'm going to put this on a necklace. One, because I don't really wear necklaces, and two, because it's gigantic. But I could not leave it behind. So, love it. And the other thing that I found is this. So, as you can see, this is a box, and it doesn't have like a clasp. So when I went into the Goodwill, I saw it like, you know, on the, like in one of their bins, and I looked at it and I was like, what in the world? So I pick it up and I'm looking around trying to figure out how to open it, and I was probably there fiddling with it for like 5 minutes before one of the workers walked by, and he goes, "It doesn't open, it's just a box, like I guess for decor or something." And I was like, oh man, I feel like, and I'm talking to him and I'm like, I feel like it should open. And so like I'm shifting it around in my hands, and then it goes like this, and both of us were like so of course I'm like, okay, if it slides down here, then this bit, it has to come off. So I'm like fiddling around with it, and it slides and then comes off like that. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And the dude was like, I can't believe it opens. So I took that end off, and when that end released, this side moved as well. So then both edges open, and I was just like, oh my goodness. Of course, when the first bit slid and we were trying to figure out how to get the first side door off, I was like, what if the person who donated this left something really awesome inside it, and it's like treasure, like real treasure from the thrift store. This is the best day ever. There was nothing in it. My heart was a little bit broken, if I'm honest. But like, that is so, like, this thing is so cool and has brought me just so much laughter. When I got home, I showed it to Lamar, and I was like, see if you can get it open. I don't know why I was like, see if you can get it open, because he is such a, like, a riddle, like, problem solving kind of guy. He got both of the edges open in like 3 minutes, and I was like, you know what, forget you. But yeah, so it's actually kind of hard to put it back together, because you have to put them together, like you have to put the sides on in a certain order. So yeah, I doubt very seriously I'll put anything in here, but it's a really cool conversation starter. This is definitely something I could see sitting on like a coffee table, like on top of your books about knitting and home decor, right? Like sitting on top, and then like when you have guests, you can be like, hey, can you get me something out of that box right there? And they'd be like, what box? And then you get to watch them try to open it. Sounds like a good time to me. But yes, so I love, like, that's one of the main reasons that I love the thrift store, is because you can always find like those little weird whatnots and hoo-hoos. So it's getting a little dark. I think there's some clouds that are rolling in. We had a whole bunch of storms today, but that's everything for stash positions. And my next segment is Kalisha and the Babe, which is my spinning section. So as today is the 7th, yesterday was the 6th, and it was the first day of Tour de Fleece. So Tour de Fleece is a like spinning marathon challenge type thing, where you make goals to spin yarn during the Tour de France. And so it goes from July 6th to July 28th, and this is my first year participating. So I made some goals for myself, and I have 2 non-Tour de Fleece yarns to show you that I was working on, and then one, I have my first like official spun during the tour yarn. So the first one that I want to show you is, it's an acrylic yarn that I spun from fibers. Now these fibers were, let me back up. Last week I showed this yarn that I got from Hobby Lobby, and it was a 3-ply like roving yarn. Like each one of the plies was like just loose roving. So I untwisted the plies, and each one of those plies I made and like kind of decided I was going to treat differently with my spinning and color prep and whatever like that. So this yarn was spun from the leftovers of one of the preps. So I had a bunch of colors that I separated out of this one particular prep, and then I like combed them or carded them with my dog slicker brushes, and I made like these kind of, they're not real Rolags, but well, I guess faux lags would be the term because I've seen that used. But I'll put up a picture of the Rolags, and it's kind of a gradient here. And then I spun them like, you know, through the gradient. And then I did my first chain ply, which is also a 3-ply, but you know. And this is how it, oh gosh, we're tangled. This is how it looks. Not bad for my first chain ply. There's definitely, it was grossly overspun when I did the chain plying, primarily because trying to get my hands together and the rhythm of the chain ply was a little bit difficult. But it's definitely something I'm going to practice again with more of my acrylic fiber, just to get the motion before I go on to the wool fibers. But yeah, like, I think it came out really, really good. What are my deets on this? It came out to about 1 ounce and 24 yards. So about 32 grams. Now, one thing, because it was so, like, you can still see it twisting in on itself a bit, but because it was so overspun, like, it was plying back on itself hardcore. So what I did, because you can't block acrylic in the way that you block natural fibers or like wool or plant fibers, what I did with the acrylic was I steamed it. And I steamed it a lot. And it was really cool because you could see, like, when the steam hit the acrylic, you could see it like relaxing, like actually moving. It was pretty cool. So there's that. I don't know what this is going to grow up to be, but that's fine. Yeah. So that's my first project for Kalisha and the babe. Worst Hank ever. My second one is this fuzzy little baby. It's a mix of mystery fibers, and I spun this all on one of my handmade drop spindles, and it's also my first single. So I basically spun, look, there's so much energy left in it. I spun the fiber, and then I wound it onto my nitty knotty, soaked it, and like kind of scrubbed it a little bit to get it to felt a bit. I think that this has a lot of alpaca in it. This is mystery fiber that I got from the Barn Yarn, which is a yarn store that used to be in Claremont, Florida. You can see that the pokey halo-y bits. Nope, not against my hand, you can't. Let's use my hair. Yeah. So you can see all of those like fibers. But this color is really pretty. There was a pinkish purple wool, and then like the alpaca type fibers were just a light purple, and I really like the way that they blended together. I didn't do anything really special with the blending. I literally lined the fibers up together and like ripped them apart, folded them back, ripped them apart. So kind of like, you know, just layering. And then I did use my dog slicker brushes to brush them out and stuff as I was spinning. Yeah, this is really, really scratchy. Like, it was just irritating the back of my hand. So who knows what this is gonna be, but it's real pretty, right? It's real pretty. The last spinning. This is my first Tour de Fleece yarn, and I'm just gonna stop assuming that I'm not gonna be racing the sun, because your girl totally is. Oh, this looks like it's glowing. That's pretty cool. It's not day glow, but that's pretty cool. So this is a 2-ply that I spun. The singles were spun from Rolags. and this was part of the fiber goodie box that Amanda sent me a couple episodes back. So I had 2 Rolags, and I spun those, and then I did a plying bracelet, and then I plied them like from the ends back to the middle. I really like how the colors play together. This is really like soft and bouncy, so I really like that. Yeah, I don't really think I like spinning from true Rolags. These were like the long skinny ones that you'll see people preparing off of blending boards. I don't think I really like that, just because of like how it pulls the fiber out. But this is my first time using a true Rolag, so I think I'll try it again before I pass judgment. So that's all of the actual spinning that I have to show you. I did want to share with you my Tour de Fleece goals. So I set myself 3 goals and then a bonus goal. So my first goal is to finish the green fiber. What green fiber, you say? This green fiber. This fiber has been spun for 2 years, I think. I think it's been 2 years since I got this fiber, and I started spinning it on one of my drop spindles. I actually spun almost all of this on a drop spindle, and it's quite a bit, like quite a lot of singles, and there's still so much more left of the braid. So I realized in one of my projects, one of my drop spindle projects, that I was spinning all of my singles on my drop spindle counterclockwise. Yeah, so I didn't want to do that. So basically this got on the wheel because I decided to spin it, to run it back through the wheel clockwise, so that way I can spin all of the singles together and then ply it all together for like a big total amount. So essentially I am unspinning unspinning the yarn and then respinning like each little section, and this took 5 ever, but I was successful and finished it. So now I can actually have all of the fiber in one. I'm gonna regret this greatly. Just turn the light on. I think it should stay on. But finish the green spin. Oh yeah, you can see that better now. A little bit. It's green. It's green. Second goal, spin my acrylic fiber and do a chain ply. So I want to spin more of my acrylic fiber and work on doing a chain ply with that. So I have a couple, like I said, I have a couple bits of this fiber. That's the colors if you couldn't see them before. I have a couple bits of this fiber. I think I have 3 different preps of this fiber, and it essentially comes out like a pencil roving, like once I split it, or once I unplied it. Each ply is kind of like pencil roving, I think. So I don't have to draft it a whole lot, but I do have to draft it just a little bit. So I want to spin at least one of those and do a chain ply. So that's my second goal. And my third goal is to spin my gradient 2-ply. And this is from the fiber that I did my fractal spin from. So my plan with that is to split that braid, or it's not even a braid, split that fiber down the middle and spin each one top to bottom. And then ply them together. So hopefully if I can, like, I want to do that project or that particular spin like beginning to end within like a few days of the beginning. I want to just work on that one spin so that I can make sure that my motions and everything are as consistent as possible. Yes, I'm really excited about that one, like really. And my bonus goal is to dye fiber in some sort of gradient I think I want to do, and then spin a 2-ply fractal from it. One of the fibers that I got in that fiber box a couple weeks back was a Knit Picks fiber, and I really feel like that would be an excellent place to start with trying to like dye my own fiber and seeing how that works out. So I don't know kind of how I want to dye it. If I'm completely honest, it may end up being like some sort of blue-green gradient, but it also might end up being a yellow, orange, and green, or orange, yellow, and green in the correct order, like gradient, because those are my 3 favorite colors, and I think that might happen. Y'all. So yes, those are my goals for Tour de Fleece. Wish a girl luck. And that is everything for spinning. That's everything crafty. The last bit is life and whatnot. The reason that I didn't get to film on my, I had many plans. So my first plan was to film last Thursday because I had a bunch of hours at work randomly, and Thursday was I worked half a day, I think, on Thursday. Oh no, Thursday was the 4th of July, so we had shorter hours. We got off at 4, and my plan was to come home and record then, but Mother Nature was not having it, and it rained and stormed, lightning and all kinds, and I didn't want to film in front of like the white wall again. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just film Friday morning. Friday morning, I get up, I got all my stuff together, I was prepared to film, and Lamar was like, hey, let's go look at a car. So we have been car shopping for a while. Well, not a long time, probably like a couple weeks, because my car died last October. Like, doesn't want to be a car anymore. It really would like to be a paperweight. So that's what it's doing, and it's living its best life as a giant paperweight. So Lamar and I have been sharing a car since October, which we made it work, but there were some days that were like pretty difficult, where I would have to get up extra early with him because he's a teacher, and then I would have to ride to school with him, drop him off, come home, get dressed to go to work at the studio, and then I'm at the studio sometimes until 7 when he's already off work, and then I have to drive from the studio to his school, which is a good 45 minutes to an hour, in order to pick him up. So it was crazy time in the Ryan house, but we made it through, and Friday we finally got another car, so we can both go places at the same time in different directions. Having multiple cars is really amazing, guys, and it's a wonderful privilege, and I'm so glad that we can have this privilege. But yeah, so that's why I didn't record on Friday, which was the backup day. So yeah, we got a new car. Hooray! And as of right now, there's no dog hair in it. We'll see how long that lasts. What else on the life front? I can't think of anything else like life announcement-y wise, but there was something that I wanted to talk about. And I'm going to try to do this quickly because I feel like I just saw a couple mosquitoes fly past my face. I watched a particular podcast last week. It was the beginning of last week. And this is a podcaster that I have watched and, interacted with, both on here on YouTube and on Instagram since it's probably been a couple years that I've been interacting with them. And, in such a way that they described me as one of their friends, and were saying how I made them feel welcome here, like as a podcaster or whatever like that. And she went ahead and described me as a colored knitter. Now, this isn't the first time that someone has called me colored, and it's not, being called colored is not a racial slur by any means. But what it is colored in America carries the weight of segregation and Jim Crow and Reformation and all of the ugly things that happened, you know, in America during those years, right? When there was segregation and you had whites only restrooms and water fountains and, you know, places to sit, and then you had colored water fountains and colored restaurants and colored entrances. That's what is evoked when someone describes me as a colored person. So I sent her a message, and I also commented on the podcast, just explaining like the history, not even really explaining the history like a dissertation type thing, but just making mention of the fact that describing someone as colored is a bit offensive, and it's hurtful to me because of the history of that word. And I really wanted to mention that here, because this wasn't the first time that I've had this conversation with people. And I think it's also important to note that calling a person of color colored is not, it doesn't carry the same connotation everywhere. I have learned, and this is something that I do, right? Whenever someone says something to me that makes me feel like upset or hurt or offended, I immediately read about the word, and to try to identify what about this word is causing me these feelings. So when she described me as a colored knitter, one of the first things I went to do was read up about it. Like, okay, why is this word, like, is my interpretation of why this word offends me, like the actual reason why it's kind of offensive? And it is. Like, the offense comes from the history of it. And I said in the comment, I said, you know, if you're unsure, person of color, you know, is a safe place to identify someone, instead of calling them colored. Of course, and there are going to be other Black people or African Americans or Caribbean Americans or Caribbean people or people of the African diaspora who are not offended, you know, if they're called colored. In some countries, being called colored is kind of a compliment, because it was a way of distancing that individual from like darker skinned people. And there's so many thoughts and feelings that I have about the whole thing. But if you ever want to describe me to anybody, just go with Black, African American, person of color, woman of color. Colored, not so much. But yeah, there was more that I wanted to talk about with the interaction that I had with that particular podcaster, because in their video they were talking about how they don't agree with the changes that Ravelry has made in reference to hate speech and everything like that. And she described the conversation, or she described the voices that she was hearing in the conversation as angry. And when I was listening to her, I also wanted to comment on that. I know sometimes when there are very emotionally charged conversations, people can come across as angry or aggressive or, any of those things. But I want to say to you guys, as well as the same thing I said to her, was to consider where that anger is coming from, right? Consider the painful experiences that all of the marginalized groups within our community have been experiencing, and that non-marginalized people are just opening their ears to, or just allowing themselves to be exposed to, right? Think about all of those hurts, that underlie, that are right beneath the surface of that anger, right? And then you can kind of imagine where that comes from. Like last week when I was talking about that pinch, right? When you're consistently pinched in that same place over and over again, that you really are injured, right? When you're consistently experiencing slight after slight and microaggression after microaggression, and like all of those experiences, right, sit on you, and your responses can come out like angry. And yes, I get angry. I do. I get very angry when I feel and I hear all the stories of people and how they're being treated that look like me. Like if I was in that place, I would be treated exactly the same way just because of how I look. And that's not fair at all, right? And I just wanted desperately to convey that sometimes it's not just anger. Like you're just not angry to be angry. There's more beneath that. And I think if we stop, like if we don't stop at the anger, if we don't stop at the way something is said, but seek to understand why that thing was said, right? Then that can be so much more, like that can cause progress. That can help us to be better people. At least that's how I feel. Another thing that she was saying, how she wants her children or her child to be treated just like everybody else and not be seen for different things about them. And I told her, I said, that's the same thing that people of color want. Like we want to be treated just like everybody else and not be judged by how we look. Like that's all anybody wants. We just want to be treated the same way, And the response that I got from her was less than ideal. It ended with her kind of yelling at me, saying that I attacked her, and then blocking me. Which, it's fine. I mean, I do wish that she hadn't blocked me, because then we could have actually had a dialogue. But it is what it is. And that's kind of another thing that I was thinking about, was how a lot of times in this social media world, in this social media world, we are so quick to block people, We're so quick to say, oh, I don't want to hear your point of view, so I'm going to block you. And then we wonder why Instagram and YouTube and all these other social medias only show us all the same thing, you know? So I guess I want to encourage all of us within this community, like, to actually have conversations. You know, if someone doesn't agree with your thoughts on a particular thing, talk about it, you know? And part of communication is the delivery of the message, but it's also the receiving of the message, and being open enough to listen to the message that's being given to you. Listening to someone doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be like, you know what, I completely agree with you, and I'm going to change all of my opinions and my life choices. But listening to other people and their life experiences, and accepting their life experiences, whether they're however different from yours they are, that is a way to build relationships, even if you are different. You know, even if your values are different, even if your life circumstances and life choices and identities and orientations are different, having open conversation and actually listening, and not listening in the way like I'm listening in order to to tell you all the ways that you're wrong. Like that's not listening. Listening to learn another person. I think that is what we need as people. And on that note, I'm going to get down off of my soapbox because there is currently a spider building a nest, or not a nest, they don't build nests, webs. There's a spider building a web on my tripod. I don't know why the spider decided that this was the place that they want to live, but I mean, I guess for like a knitter and a crocheter, having a spider around is kind of appropriate. Anansi, you cannot live there. I apologize. You can live in the mango tree though. I'm gonna rehome the spider into the mango bush. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, and a great week. Leave a comment down below of something positive that happened to you so that we can share in that positivity, and keep that going. I want this space to be a light, and you guys are really shining your lights down in the comment section, and I really, really love it. And other people are loving it. And I've seen like other comments of people saying that they read the comments and they get happy about different things, and people are commenting on other people's positive moments, and in the Ravelry group people are like talking and stuff in that positive moments thread, and it's just the best. So there's that. Have a wonderful everything. And if it's not so wonderful, it's okay. This too shall pass. Thank you so much for being a part of my universe. Bye. Can I press the button and not get jumped by a spider?